Godverdomme. In last week's video I experimented a bit trying to make a gear for the spindle for my lathe. I mentioned that it was a pure experiment because I don't know a thing about gear making. And this was the result, and it sort of worked, but it didn't really go as planned. I received lots of comments and some emails from people who wanted to help me out with this experiment. And to thank you all for this, I thought I'm gonna send you flowers to everyone. But I'm not sure in what shape the flowers will be when they arrived. So I thought the best way to thank you for all this help is by making a gear that actually works. So I made again a brand new gear blank. One of the things I didn't know, and you guys helped me with this, was the width of the tip for the cutting tool. Well, now I know 1.14 millimeters. Several commenters pointed out that using a fixed bar to make the rotation is not a good idea, because there will be an error in the rotation system. If my part is over here, the linear movement will be less than the rotation movement. If I put it here, I can rotate without almost no linear movement. So the teeth of the gear will not be correct. Of course, I didn't think of this. So thank you very much for pointing that out. And that's why I decided to go back to the cable and pulley system. Now I made this bizarre looking thing. There's two different diameters here because I want to make two different gears. First I'm gonna use the small one. I have here a fixed point for the cable, and this one will be the registering pin. And this is more or less the idea. This will give me a constant rotational movement in relationship to the linear movement. And of course, this is the pitch diameter of the gear I want to cut minus half of the thickness of the wire. So let's install the whole thing on the shaper and see how it goes. My gear blank is already in place here. Over here I did what I don't really like to do, but sometimes you have to. I drilled and tapped two holes in my machine to receive this bizarre looking thing here that I made from another piece of rust. Alright. To prevent the wire from opening here, well, it's always a bit of a problem, a good little trick is to put Loctite on the end, or in this case I put some wood glue. Of course it's not forever, but if you have to manipulate a few times in small holes, it works fine. Telefoon. All right. That could work. Before I continue this little gear experiment, maybe first a little update. Some of you asked me if we were okay because over here in the region and also in the Netherlands and Germany and Luxembourg there's a terrible flood. The last 2 days we had the equivalent of rain of 2 months, so the rivers couldn't take it anymore and everything was flooded. Now, my house is about 200 meters from the river, that side, but we're also about 50 meters above the river. So here, my house, my family, we are safe. We didn't have 1 drop of water in the house, so no problem. But 1 kilometer from here, a bit less than 1 kilometer, is a town, and they're near the river, and there is a disaster area. The phone call you heard in this video, and I left it in on purpose, was a call for help. So, of course, I stopped immediately doing what I was doing. I was filming my gear thing here. I think it's normal in this kind of situations to offer help. It's solidarity, and we've seen this in the town where everything was flooded. Lots of people came with their stuff for cleaning. They came with a tractor, they came with trucks to load up all broken stuff and all these things, you know. There were people walking around offering nice and warm soup to everybody just for free. They did this. There was lots of youth that came to help, so it's really heartwarming. I won't show you any pictures of the flooded town center because I don't think it's appropriate to show other people's misery. I suppose everyone has seen pictures and videos of flooded areas. Well, over here it was exactly the same. So I helped all day cleaning the local pharmacy, and it was a hell of a job, lots of mud inside. Right, all this said, I think now we can continue making a gear on the shaper. My cable system seems to work. There's a nice and fresh grind on the tool with all the things I learned from you guys. This tool should normally be perfect. So let's see what happens. I'll dial in 1 millimeter and here goes the first cut. I think it starts to look like a real gear. Okay, 29 to go and we'll see what we've got. This is the last one I have to cut, but here's the little set screw. So I changed the stroke position, and normally we should not touch this set screw. So I hope that's the theory. Let's go for it and see what happens. And here's the finished product. There's just a little problem here. This one and this one are a little bit defaced. But the teeth look a bit like a real gear. So I think that's a success. I just have to be careful next time that I locate every time really perfectly well my next tooth. Let's give it a try on the lathe anyway. First, low speed. That sounds good. Let's speed it up a bit. That doesn't sound good. When I turn by hand, I can feel it's this one tooth that's a little bit bigger than the others. I feel it binding, but all the others feel great. Okay, I'm gonna give it a little touch with a file or something and see if I can make it better. So now I'm ready to give it a second try. Let's do! Right, it's still rattling a bit, so I'm gonna continue, give it a little bit a touch with a file here and there, and we will get somewhere. I think if you have a shaper and a bit spare time, give it a go. It's really fun to do. The wire system seems to work. It's just that I have to be a little bit more careful while indexing my gear. I think sometimes I pulled too hard to retight the system, but for my next gear I think it will be a 101% gear.